It's the Lean Into Artcast, the Lean Into Artcast show where a couple of visual storytellers get together, take a walk around a topic, try to look at it from every conceivable angle, talk about it in the abstract, but then, make this thing useful to people, ourselves included, by talking about what to do with all this thinking that we do. We think hard about visual storytelling, so you will too. My name is Jerzy Drozd. I'm a cartoonist and a teaching artist, and the other host is...
Hello, I'm Rob Stenzinger. I'm a designer and coder, and do things like podcasting with you, Jerzy. How you doing?
Hey, I am well, I think. Yeah. Let me check. Yeah, I am.
Excellent.
All the parts are here.
Nice, because we'll have to use some of those to pay for our topic.
So, yes, if you're new to this show, this is a show where, like a coder, a designer, a cartoonist, and we're both teachers. We get together and we talk about all the things that go into being a visual storyteller, and we try to dig at it in an effective yet thorough way. And this episode, we're going to be talking about coding. Something we don't talk about enough on the show, I think, Rob, given your field of expertise.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's. I think there's a separation of those worlds and those cultures probably a bit too often. And for me included, as far as contexts, when I get together with people, it's not common to go from talking about even design to coding, or from comics to coding, or from comics to user experience, or from, et cetera, right? So these things tend to group among themselves.
But they don't necessarily have to, or let's put it this way. There's benefits to branching out of the groups that you fall into.
Absolutely. And I've seen places where there's no such thing as groups too, right? I mean, it depends on where you go. If you go into typically a more large structured organization, then you may find more separation among those groups. But if you go to somewhere smaller, more informal, or people who are just... making their way with their own businesses and getting ideas off the ground, all of a sudden those lines, there's no resources to put a line there. So you end up needing to pick up a lot more of different experiences and roles to accomplish.
As they say, you have to wear a lot of hats, right? Yeah. In some instances, but this is one of those hats where I'll cop to it. It's a place where I have a lot of apprehension. And I know we'll dig into this when we get into our 10,000 feet up section, but there's something about learning something new when you don't have familiarity with it that makes it kind of extra scary. We won't spend a lot of time in that arena, but the point is, like, just to frame it up, just to begin our exploration before we dive into the real discussion. Mm-hmm. It's something I think a lot of people feel like we should be learning, but like learning a new language, it's like, where do I find the time? That's a lot of effort. And how do I even know I've got the right one picked? Do I learn German? Do I learn, Russian? Do I learn, Polish? What language should I be learning? Which is the right one, right? And I'm sure we'll have lots of opinions in that regard. But before we go there, Rob.
Yes. Before we pick the right language for the world, yes.
I wasn't aware we had this authority. That's great.
No, we don't.
I got my Christmas wish.
Ta-da! No, we will explore that and have a point of view. So before that happens, we have sponsors on the show, and the sponsors are us. So this is the block of the part. This is the show where we talk about we kind of telegraph a little bit about coding, designing, cartooning, teaching. Let's talk about the stuff we actually make on the show, because we are the sponsors of the show. We're the guys who put in the effort and the money into making the show. So the first one I want to talk about is, speaking of coding and design, Rob, talk about this Panda Needs You. Yeah, sounds good. This Panda is a game that I originally released for iPad, recently did an update where now it works on all iOS devices that go back to, I think, version 8. And, well, it's a game that it's all ages, definitely targeted toward a younger audience, but I've seen people of, any age. Do you like to stack blocks? Well,
Do you like to see them fall over? Well, there you go. The essence of this game is it's a puzzle where this panda comes across a stack of blocks. They get knocked down by this silly little cloud character, and it's now this panda's job and your job, because the panda needs you, to put those blocks back together in the way that they were. And then your reward is a little more harder challenge of blocks that this panda will come across next. And it's on iOS, available for $2.99. Go to this-panda.com to learn more and get that convenient link to the App Store.
There we go. And then the thing that I want to talk about that I make is this webcomic called Boulder and Fleet Adventures for Hire. I'm closing in on the end of the latest story. Short story? Not really. This is page what? What page just dropped? 63. And it's a story about two friends who, travel from town to town and, like all travelers, encounter all sorts of difficulties. And Boulder, who is blessed with great strength and an overwhelming desire to help people, kind of drags him and his poor buddy Fleet into these predicaments. But Fleet, who is an entrepreneurial young bird, makes a business out of it for them. So she negotiates the deals. They are adventures for hire after all. And then they work together to solve other people's problems. And in the current story, they were picnicking on a gorge, and they were looking over a mining operation, just watching it going on. And suddenly the mine came under attack by these rock girls who eat precious metals. So they want the mine because lunch is inside. And we're coming up on a rather emotional scene, something where I'll use this as my tease. It's a scene where I was very uncomfortable and nervous writing it, because it's strangely direct and honest and not concealed with humor. So you can go to boulderandfleet.com to read it, and it is also available on all the social medias. I post it natively in all those places. Just search for Boulder and Fleet. So, but if you like the show and you're like, okay, that's nice that you guys make games and comics, but what we're really here for is listening to you guys hash out ideas, then the products we make in that regard are at leanintoart.com/workshops, where there's a whole bunch of different workshops that you can download at a price of your naming, even $0 if you can't foot any more than that. But you can download hours and hours of video material of like formal workshops that we've put together for you guys. So with that, close. Anything else in there, Rob?
I want to make sure that later on in the show, we're going to talk about another project that Jerzy has going on with some other very talented professional cartoonists and storytellers that we have to talk more about. So
okay, we'll talk about it later on the show.
All right, awesome.
But before we go there, we gotta signal the music to so that we're going 10,000 feet up. This is the part when Rick Hunter points his little fan jet straight up, and the little rockets pop off of the back. Before he and Min-May got stuck in deep space when the SDF-1 does its space fold out to Pluto to get away from the Zentradi. I don't want to spoil the whole story, but 10,000 feet up, this is where we talk about the topic in abstract. And what?
Robotech's a fantastic metaphor because, if you think about Rick Hunter, he's a scrappy scripter. He's empowered, and he's using approachable technologies, and then those have a certain limit to their capabilities, because all of a sudden he's stuck in deep space because, the whole darn fortress and area surrounding got moved out there, and his scripting situation is not quite well suited for that environment. Anyway, interesting.
Look how unintentionally clever I can be. I would like to acknowledge some of the scary stuff first before we dig any deeper, and I want to borrow some language from you, Rob. This is from interactive-storyteller.com, and we talked about this last episode with the making an experience inventory. You said you talk about how like all this data you collected over, for this project where you were spreadsheeting it and analyzing it. You can go back one episode if you missed it to hear us talk about the benefits that you got from that. But in your report that you posted, you said, I developed an experience inventory to help me pull data out of my journal calendar and various notes for the past year. Once I had this data, I was able to explore it and compare what the data said to how I feel about different times and topics throughout the year. Data nerds know that's awesome. Data whatevs know they've clicked the wrong link. So in addressing this particular topic, if you've gotten this far, I'm going to say you are curious about the notion of coding. You accept that it's something that you might want to learn, right? If if you are not ready to learn some JavaScripting today, you've tuned into the wrong show. Stop listening now. Go find something else to listen to, because we are going to be talking about JavaScript a little bit, and Rob is going to teach me how to use it in the second half of the show. But first, acknowledging the scary stuff. So, as a teacher, I teach mostly children and teenagers. And I'm privileged in that the kids who take my classes want to be there. They pay for my classes, or their parents pay for my classes. It's extracurricular, right? This is not something where it's like they have to take this to graduate. So most of the time, I'm dealing with kids who, they're signed on. I don't have to cajole them too much into drawing, right? And also, I think when you're younger and you don't have a sense of, a lot of kids, at least the kids I deal with, treat learning a lot more like play than grown-ups do. But then when I teach adults, and I've been teaching adults for a number of years, I'm reconfronted with this notion of there seems to be a sense of consequence when you're learning something as an adult, right? Sunk cost fallacy, or it could be, I just don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to, there's this expression, I know just enough to be dangerous, right?
Sure. I do this all the time too. Like a disclaim. It is the worst habit. And because on one hand, it's sort of it's like a level setting thing, and trying to say that, hey, I'm open to failing. I hope you're cool with that, and it's really likely that I don't understand everything that's going on. I do have confidence that as we go through this, that we'll figure this out together, kind of thing. But like all those are habits that are they're not always constructive in a hey, let's go get something accomplished. Or even try to accomplish something.
What, are you saying that I'm slowing things down by disclaiming?
No, I guess, there you go. Yep, there you go. We finally are having this confrontation. Let's just have it on air.
Right.
No. No, it's okay. So there's setting context, but there's anyway. You happen to hit something I was thinking about a lot today. As far as
oh really?
I was thinking about I disclaimed too much, and related to that, I think it's related to wanting to not lose status or respect or the connection with the people that you're with, kind of thing. And being overly concerned about that, you know, and I think that's understandable. Adults tend to have built up a lot of some kind of role and position and a status related to this group, you know, and so jumping into vulnerable learning situations can be daunting depending on their culture and interests, because maybe that context isn't there, or they're not as familiar with it. Of like, hey, you know, it can be safe. If we set out and make it that way, which is the biggest trick that I try to do every time I do a workshop, which I frequently do workshops with adults.
Yeah, okay.
Primarily, where it's, you know, I find that groups are far more typically engaged and creative when they do find it comfortable to set that kind of role or status aside, but voluntarily, right?
That's a great way of phrasing it. Yeah. There's a sense of, well, there's a Bill Burr joke about, like, you know, be a man, pretend to have answers.
Yeah. It's funny because it's true and it hurts.
So, but also it's like, yeah, it's just that I've done enough teaching with adults to know that there's always at least a small portion of the room who, when I'm doing like a Photoshop demonstration or something, and they'll need their palettes organized exactly like mine, because that's what they need in order to follow along, and they are very concerned about messing it up, right? And then you can imagine what my reaction is. Like, you can't mess it up. You know, it'll be, if it's a mess, that's good. That's how you learn, right? And this is the classroom. This is where we're supposed to mess things up. And this is the place where, yeah, like if the time bomb goes off, you know, we just get black faces and we go, whoa, and then start over. So all that was about was just acknowledging that, yep, this is a thing that happens to us, and it happens to all of us at one point or another, and remind ourselves to playfully learn. Moving on. I want to choose the right. I want to choose the right language, Rob. We teased that. Let's deliver on it.
Okay.
What languages should we learn? I actually get this question a lot from the parents of my students who want their kids to learn to code.
And it's really interesting that I don't, informally, from my experience, what I've noticed, because I get curious when people are out there volunteering or teaching or doing, paid workshop things or whatever. It's like, well, what are they teaching and to what age groups and all that? And sometimes we carry with us, and I'm no exception there, the sort of like our toolbox that works for us. And we just kind of bring that to another audience with maybe enough consideration to like, well, where are they at and what are they into? Because down that path lies a lot of work, and it may or may not be appealing to either party because finding the right language is work. And if, the convenient answer might be the right place to start, dabbling probably is a good idea to find where you, like what if you're, let's say you want to pick up an instrument, but you don't know for sure which instrument. And picking one up is a little bit of an investment. Find a way to rent. Find a way to borrow or visit. And in the realm of code, there are an amazing amount of resources nowadays that you can just visit in a web browser and try pretty much any language. So I would say there's probably some kind of signal, some kind of be tuned into your reaction as you try a language. And there are easy places to start because they're common. And kind of like, what language did you learn? Where did you grow up? You probably learned your spoken language to express all of your day-to-day human ideas. It's probably based on where you grew up, which is probably easier than saying, well, I'm 0 years old, and somehow I don't want to learn that language. I want to learn a different one. Well, that would be probably pretty impossible or whatever. And it's a silly example, but like you get like, that's the extreme of like saying like, I'm going to not learn the language that other people speak near me, whatever. Anyway, so what does people speak near you? And what do you, as you try things, please try things. And what are you reacting to? And then you're going to find a signal of like, hey, wait a minute. That example totally sucked when I tried one language, but then I kind of get it now. That's a signal of like, okay. You might be able to progress toward fluency a little more naturally with the language that you're feeling that kind of thing with. And I think that varies for people.
So I'm going to use the parent of my student as an example again, only because I think what they're modeling for me is that apprehension about sunk cost. I want maximum return on my investment for time, right? I don't want to waste time. Follow-up. Is learning any particular language beneficial to helping you learn another language? Are there certain languages where it's like, well, if you understand this, the ramp up to learn this or this or this becomes a little bit easier. Just like how there are, if you speak German, Dutch becomes a little bit more grokkable, right? Because they share some DNA or some syntax or whatever.
I would say yes. That's a commonly held belief that I've run into, and I have no research to back it up other than my personal journey and discussing this with other people who code. And there may be a bit of extra effort in the first language you learn. There may be occasionally a lot of effort when you learn a new language, but it's typically not as much. Some languages have quirks and are pretty different structurally than other languages. And that can be a little bit of a stumbling block, but like what you learn to put the basics together will carry through no matter where you start. And I had this experience when I was in elementary school. I was taught BASIC. And and it was one of those things where had a really funny, engaging teacher who asked us to all program him, right, to make a peanut butter sandwich, and which was an awesome exercise because he was silly as heck, and he was showing us how, like, he would say, okay, I'm a computer, program me to make a sandwich, and he goes, boom, sets down a jar of peanut butter, boom, sets down a loaf of bread, stands there, and then he's like waiting for instruction. And so someone's like, we'll just make a sandwich. He goes, syntax error. And, and then someone's like, well, pick up the peanut butter and get some peanut butter on the knife. And so he's like fumbling with the peanut butter, and he kind of puts it on the blade of the knife, and it falls, right? Yeah. The whole jar on the blade of the knife falls over, right? Anyway, so it continues, and then we're learning, like, oh wow, you really have to be specific with computers. Wow, I thought they were magic. I mean, they look on TV and you barely do anything, and all of a sudden you're, I don't know.
Place the knife blade side down into the jar. Move the blade approximately 30 degrees of a circle. Remove blade.
Exactly. And he was a little more forgiving than that, but he was way toward that end of the spectrum, right?
If peanut butter is on blade, then place peanut butter on slice of bread.
Yes. Yeah, with the peanut butter on the bread and the knife above the peanut butter.
Oh my God, you're right.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And place peanut butter on bread. That command would have nested in it. Place knife edge on bread. Gently pull to left 3 inches.
Right? There you go. Exactly. And so you might, in the end, accept, like, hey, there's some peanut butter on the bread. There's a lot next to the bread, whatever. But, like, hey, technically, there you go. That's a draft of the software right there. Those instructions. And he used that to get us in the mindset to then start learning the elements of BASIC, which is essentially a way to express logic of variables and conditional statements and loops and such. Which those are like basic elements, kind of like words and nouns and verbs, sentences, paragraphs are in English.
So we teased that you're going to teach me some JavaScript today.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of made a decision, because you have to, right? Yeah. We have to make some kind of decision. And I'm not going to, do like a, McLaughlin Group or Larry King kind of cornering you on like why.
Don't hold back. Jump in. Do it.
No, what I am curious about is, what stuff we can do. Like, what are some off-the-cuff examples of what we can do with JavaScript? So when and we're going to make some stuff with this, but like, not why JavaScript is like what's so great about the language, but what stuff does it do for us? What's in it for me?
So what's in it for you? Likely you've used a web browser, especially if you're watching this show or listening to it in some way, shape, or form. You've probably used a web browser. And in web browsers for many, many years now, I'm trying to think if it's past 20. Yeah, no, it's for sure past 20 years. And they have supported some form of a scripting language inside there. And that allows you to have some interactivity, right? Where if the web page senses a certain event is what it's called, like clicking or scrolling or typing or something that you as a person have caused an event, it can respond to you. And so if you want to have some kind of interactive web page or web presence that does something a little above and beyond once you learn the basics of HTML, and you think, yeah, I would like some extra behavior here. I want my page to, let's see, I'm trying to pick something that CSS can't do. Because when we talk web pages, there's a stack of a few different things. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was like the Homestar Runner copyright page. I was going to look that up. The legal page on there. That's probably done. No, it's not done in Flash, is it?
Oh yeah, Homestar Runner is Flash. HomestarRunner.com. I mean, they may have migrated some things by now. I don't know, but
yeah, like the legal page is like just all this legal text, and actually I'll pull it up right here, and if you let it run for long enough, doesn't Homestar come walking on and looks at it and says it's boring? There he is.
Okay.
Yeah, and he says boring, and then he walks away. But that was all done in Flash, I'm guessing.
I love this. It was done in Flash, but hold on. Let me get a different example. I can.
Yeah, please.
Let's see. I'm trying to debate if I should pull it up on my other machine, which, let's see. So if I go to p5js.org, which we'll be talking about that also. JavaScript's a big world, and let's see. So if I go to, I think it's hello.p5js.org. So if I go there and I do click to begin. So here you go. Here's a web page laid out. HTML gives the structure and a lot of the semantic content, is what they call it, of a page. But then the CSS, the cascading style sheets, help style and lay stuff out, potentially. Then there's JavaScript, which could add interactivity. In the case of P5, I think this is more like the Flash, like example you pointed out through and through. I'm pretty sure this whole page, well, let's just look at the source, right? One of the awesome things about stuff on the internet, you just right click and then, I don't want to inspect, I want to view source. And this is Chrome, so let's see. It's Command Option U on the Mac, but I don't know what the key combo is here. So if I go Control U, yay! Total guess, but okay. So here we go. We're looking at the source of the page. It's got a progress bar, so it's got some little pieces in there. This isn't JavaScript. This is HTML, but I'm just curious what pieces of here are going to be JavaScript. If I look for a canvas, likely this is where, yeah, so this is where this canvas is going to show up. Oh, there's a few canvases. All right, so anyway, canvas is where P5 deals with, and that behaves a lot like, it's almost like Flash has been now opened up and runs in web browsers when you combine these different technologies, like the canvas piece of HTML plus JavaScript. Anyway. Okay, click to begin.
Oh.
Yeah, this is awesome. So I don't know if you can hear this.
This young lady comes on.
I've got it muted. Maybe you should do this because mine's muted.
Oh, well, here, let me unmute you. How about this? But I think that's just going to pick up your mic. I don't think it's going to pick up your browser. We'll see.
I'm shutting my mic off.
Okay. Oh, you have to unmute you, pal. In the
features of P5JS.
Oh, I'm hearing it.
You used processes before. It's really just the same. You might draw a circle.
So I'm looking at a browser window, and this dude just pops up in there, and he's talking to us. The live human being.
But let's put the
I'm describing this for the audio listeners. And so you had a web browser window open, and suddenly, like, these talking people just popped up into the browser, right, and started interacting with what was happening on the screen. And this was all done with HTML and JavaScript, right?
Yeah. So, like, this is starting to get toward the realm where, okay, the game we mentioned, This Panda Needs You, completely programmed in JavaScript. It is using a game engine called Phaser.js, worth noting and pointing out. So let's see if we go to Phaser. Is it Phaser.js? I'm sorry, I have to Google it quick.
I'm looking it up too.
You are? All right. Phaser.io.
It's Phaser.io.
Yep. We're in a race. All right. So yeah, there's a ton of great examples there and whatnot. So why JavaScript? A variety of reasons. Because of you are instantly a citizen of a highly populated, super robust, very open to sharing community that you can learn from so many places. And that is, you are going to be wealthy in the ability to learn stuff and then to be able to act upon what you learned and to potentially make projects that you want to either, I don't know, use for fun, to help other people, to make money, whatever, or all the above. So it's a robust community with lots of cool.
So
yeah. Right.
Now, question: how do we go about learning this? That's what we're going to do next, right? So, in 1 minute and 30 seconds, stick around. Rob is going to teach me on the air, and this is recorded live, so we don't know how this is going to go down. This is not some kind of rehearsed thing. Rob's going to teach me how to do a little bit of JavaScripting. But before we go there, and man, once again, I really should have it pulled up, and I do, Rob. I got it pulled up here. Let's play the tape. This show, one of the ways that we make this show sustainable is by using Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/leanintoart, you can support us for as little as $1 a month, and that gets you access to our backlog of open mic posts where we start out with just like a sort of a prompt, and it's a safe place for all the different people who enjoy the show to interact and discuss and share resources. But we also post the Extra Lean shows there, and Extra Lean is the show we record in between the Lean Into Art cast, where it's just us riffing and us just having a good time and sort of coming up with an emergent topic. And I want to thank 5 of our supporters for making the show a little bit more sustainable. First, we got Jay Taylor, and on Twitter, Jay is at Taylor_FS3. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Jesse Hughes at Plummy Press does a comic called Cosmic Cat. You can find out more about that by following him on Plummy Press, at Plummy Press on Twitter. Thanks, Jesse, for supporting the show. Mark Falk at the_Shagal, SHAGAL, also does a comic. You can find out more about it by following the_Shagal. Catherine Sugru, Cat Does Things, at Cat Does Things on Twitter. Thank you, Catherine, for making the show possible. And Elvin Dantes, at Elvin Dantes. Thank you guys so much for supporting us on Patreon. And you can, too, by going to patreon.com/leanintoart. Okay, Rob, ready to teach me?
Aha. Yes, I'm ready to explore the possibilities with you. Let's see what happens.
Aren't we going to make a solemn pact? You teach, I learn.
It's a yes. This is less of a Mr. Miyagi thing. This is like Mr. Miyagi met Mr. Miyagi and Sato. I don't know which of us is which, but if they got along. Okay. Sato is the guy from Karate Kid Part 2. They didn't get along.
The guy who talked like this.
He goes. He tries to get Mr. Miyagi to bust a tree, and anyway, it's wonderful and not as good of a movie as Karate Kid 1, but let's say they get along.
When he busts that thing on his chest, and he's like, leave me, and Miyagi chops the big thing that he's been trying for years to chop. Oh my gosh, is that good?
That is pretty great. Yes. So, who's teaching, who's learning there, right? I mean, I like the ambiguity, Jerzy. It's I promise to do my best in this role as we, I understand I've been inventoring in the JavaScript land for many years now, and am ready to help.
There we go. You're going to help me, and we've got what is this software that we're playing with here?
Really worth mentioning. Yeah, so there's a few things that I think we may end up taking a look at. One of them is it'd be really fun to just jump into Phaser.js, right? But that's a big thing because it's full of considering not just the basics of a language, but also the sort of patterns involved in making a game. Also on top of it all, right? So I thought, what is a super helpful like you express a little bit and all of a sudden you get a lot of result. And to me, like I was in this workshop for this this JavaScript library, right? So JavaScript is a language, but then on top of it, many people do helpful things to help you accomplish stuff quickly and easily, right? There's something you've probably heard of or might not called jQuery, right? That is immensely popular. Then there's things like what we'll talk about, and we mentioned Phaser.js for doing game development, but then there's also P5.js. P5.js is a let's see, I don't want to steal their let's see, like they have this phrase, processing intuition times JavaScript power. So it's sort of this branch or this evolution or offshoot from a project called processing. And this is where, I don't know if you've encountered things where people who do data visualizations. They're both coders and artists, right? And people who do playful stuff that's projected on walls in malls or libraries or whatever, right? You get these creative coding kind of hybrid folks. I feel like they're our people, right? And so P5 is meant for this audience where it's like, hey, you get all this power, but you can access it so accessibly and efficiently. And yeah, so that's the gist of it. And so I recommend checking out that hello video for the basic summary of more background, which is at p5js.org. But here we are with this little significant helper right next to us. And what you have downloaded here, are you showing it right now?
Yep, just pulled it up.
All right, so I am wondering if so what you have is the P5JS editor. So it's kind of a fun, self-contained lab, and you don't have to worry about anything else, like building, like all those concerns about like, well, web pages have HTML and CSS and whatever. All you have to do is play with they call it a sketch, because P5 comes from processing, and that's what those programs were called, is sketches, which is kind of neat. Artists, sketches. And
that sets my expectations of what I'm going to be doing with this, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like, yeah, that's a good thing. Like, with you coming at this with a fresh perspective, how are you feeling? Like, does this sound
like sketch? Doesn't sound scary. I mean, I know what a sketch is. It's me doodling. It's me like throwing down like 5 bad lines to find the good line.
Yeah. Nice. So I was wondering if you could open up the I think it's the code sample that I prepped called First project.
Oh, is that in the browser? Is that in the pen browser?
No, that's not there. That's a resource we can share in a little bit. But
oh, okay. I'm hitting the wrong thing.
Lean into our code examples folder.
Oh, did you put that on Dropbox?
I did.
Oh my gosh, I better download it real quick while you describe what that is, because I did not get that.
Oh, okay. Well, we can jump to something different too if this is a stumbling block. No big deal.
No, it's not. It'll just take me a second.
Cool. All right. So I prepared a few different code examples, and also repurposed and borrowed and stole code examples that are shared freely from the P5 community. And super funny. Do you have the folder yet?
Not yet. It's loading.
Because okay. So I tell you what, let's skip this. Like, this is fine. Like this, because this is a little extra rigmarole as far as because what's super funny, I basically put my thumbprint on their code examples, but we can just like go to the P5 tool and open stuff up right from their menus, because they have built-in code examples.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'm extracting it now. All right, so we'll have both options, because I'm actually like unzipping the files from Dropbox right now, and there they are. Okay, so actually I can do whichever you want, Rob.
All right. So, all right, cool. So if you're there, then yeah, please go ahead and open the first project.
All right, so I'm going to go to Open,
And
and then I'm going to go to my download folder, wherever that is. There's downloads, and Leonhardt code examples. And what am I looking for? First project.
yeah. And so open Sketch, actually.
Right.
So instead of this app, it's a work in progress. Then so that's how it
All right,
works.
so-
Is go ahead. You
Right,
deal
what I'm
with
seeing here-
sketches, right? Yeah.
What I'm
Go
seeing
ahead,
here
Jerzy.
is the first line is function setup, parentheses, open bracket, and then I see some commented text. Commented meaning the 2 slashes, right?
Right.
2 slashes, and then it says, let's create a canvas. What happens if I remove those slashes? Anything?
Well, nothing, because that is simply English.
Okay.
One helpful thing to do like that. So if you uncheck those and you hit the play button next to your project name, nothing will happen.
Nothing happens.
Or it'll go ahead and allow it to do that.
All right. Allowing access.
Yeah.
There we go.
And
Yep, nothing happened.
yeah, nothing happens. So what we need to do is we're going to want to create a canvas, and let's do that with. This is super funny too, because you're not actually watching me code, and
Did I pull up your screen?
maybe let's do that.
All right. I'll pull up your screen.
All right. So we create a canvas. We go create canvas, and then whatever width and height do you want, right? Pixels. You're used to dealing with pixels probably as a digital artist. So how many pixels make sense? We can just pick some. Maybe 800 by 800. And so it's 800 wide by 800 tall. And then we'll need to give it some kind of background color. So let's give it a background of let's see. So this is in RGB numbers, where 0 represents the least of that value, and 255 represents the most. And so it's RGB, so it could be red, green, and then blue, and that will create a black background, 800 by 800. So if we do that, here we go. It's doing its thing. So that's there we go, 800 by 800. Now let's say we want something else to happen, like maybe we want to do some lines or something. We want to let's open a new example. So let's see. We will go to let's do some shapes. And so anytime in the P5 editor, you'll have to open the actual sketch.js file, and there you go. So you can see, wait a minute, Rob, what are you doing here? There's two things. There's like kind of paragraphs or chunks of code or something. So here we go. In this first chunk of code, we are in something called setup, and then the second chunk of code is something called draw, and those are two important P5JS concerns. So in a way, I kind of jumped ahead of planning and talking JavaScript specifically, and we went straight into P5JS land, where incidentally you would learn kind of like, it's almost like picking a region to live. So you're learning English, but it's a particular dialect. And in this case, you're learning JavaScript, but it's a particular dialect, and influenced by the P5JS folks. So here we have setup, which is that's run once. It's just P5. It says, hey, when I see setup, I do whatever you tell me to do in there once. And then P5 says, when it sees draw, that's like an animation frame. it's going to do that probably, 60 to 100 times a second. I'm not sure exactly what it's tuned to, but it's probably using it's called request animation frame behind the scenes is my guess, because that's the friendly way to sort of ask the web browser, can I draw yet? And it sort of is respectful to your machine's resources and like laptop batteries. Like if you shut your laptop or whatever, it'll go to sleep if it's using that, versus if you're using like a strict timer, it's not necessarily as friendly. Anyway, so here you go. So you got 2 chunks of code, set up and draw. How you doing, Jerzy?
I'm catching up with you because I actually lost my internet connection for a minute, and you must have been still going.
Yeah.
But I'm back, and I've got the setup going. Rather that copied in there. Now I'm going to function draw triangle. Triangle.
Yeah. So when you're typing this stuff, what are you thinking? Like.
So now, well, okay. So for one, here, let me pull up my screen so we can see what I'm doing, because this I think is neat, is that it's automatically giving me feedback on whether or not I'm doing what I'm doing is like actually working. So like when I type in, like let's say I type in, I'm on triangle right now. I'm going to type in FGREA. Oh, is that really going to let me do that? No. See, like the sidebar, rather the number next to the line of code I'm doing, it turns red to say like, hey, this isn't really code. And underneath it says uncaught syntax error, unexpected token, illegal. So I know I'm getting automatic instant feedback that, what I'm doing isn't proper code yet, or executable code, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So, okay, so 10, 10, 80. 80?
Yep. And
50. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, and so what you're doing there, it's actually each of those numbers there. It runs in pairs, and that is a position that's a position basically. So
Okay.
at coordinates 10 to the right and 10 down, because it's the Cartesian coordinate system that you've probably come across in math at some point, where you've got 0, 0 at the corner, and then as you go out, the numbers go up, and as you go down, the numbers go up. So you're going away from 0, 0. Kind of like if you're playing Battleship or something else, where it's like you've got stuff on a grid.
That's a great metaphor. Yeah. Okay, that totally makes sense to me. Yeah, when you talk about like B5, right? A1.
Yeah, except in this case, it's both the rows and the columns are defined as numbers.
Gotcha.
And so each pair denotes that's a position. So like it knows like, okay, one of the corners of the triangle will be at 10, 10. The next corner will be at 80, 80.
80.
Exactly.
Third quarter will be at 50, 150, which is going to determine the shape of the triangle as much as its position.
Yes.
Aha. So am I to hit play?
Yeah, hit play.
Let's see what happens.
All right. Boop. Hey, awesome.
I've got a canvas, and I've got an ellipse and a triangle.
Super cool. And you actually also were controlling, so you didn't just like you made the triangle and the ellipse. If you go back to your setup function, you're controlling the color of the stroke on those things, and the color of the background of the whole thing, and the fill color when it finishes making a shape.
All right, let me try it again. I just changed my stroke color. Oh, it's kind of hard to see.
Because it's the background is 100. Make the background like 255.
All right. Oops. 255, and hit stop and hit play again.
So that's a shortcut, right? Where what you're doing, instead of filling in the RGB, it's essentially a friendly shortcut to say like, hey, you know what? If you want all 3 values the same, just give me one. No big deal. But you can dial in anything in the RGB color space by saying, okay, here's the red, here's the green, and here's the blue.
Right, and I just did that. I just changed the stroke to, I'm testing it. Let me be playful. There it is. So I changed the stroke to 255, 55, 88.
Nice.
And now my strokes are red.
In fact, so now you could. So what if after triangle, you changed your stroke color? So you add a line. So yeah, add a line after triangle.
All right.
Yep.
Change stroke, and then paren. Whoops. How about a parentheses? Oh, it automatically created a close parentheses for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't realize we'd do that.
Fancy editor.
All right, so we'll go 0, 0, or just put 1, 0?
Sure.
0.
But you added a comma, so it's expecting another one.
255, comma, 100. I don't know what RGB value that is, but we'll find out. Hit play.
Yep.
Wait, it made them both green.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
funny. Yep.
I know why.
Yep. Why?
I forgot a semicolon there, didn't I?
Nope. Good guess. Actually, good guess. It actually ran that instruction. JavaScript. It's many people who speak JavaScript believe in the good form of putting in semicolons.
Okay.
They are not actually required.
Oh, really?
Yes, it causes some problems in certain circumstances, like returning a value or something. It just it's safer to use semicolons.
Okay.
Like it's less ambiguous. Like that, you know, it's like this instruction is done. Every line of this is an instruction. Kind of like us talking about that that awesome person who taught who taught a workshop when I was in elementary school about how to make a peanut butter sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
And those are just, you know, explicit instructions. And it's clear that the instruction's done, almost like the period at the end of a sentence with when you add a semicolon.
Gotcha.
Well, let's see. So, okay, here's what's happening. Setup. This is when you were coming back from the internet outage thing. Setup runs once, yet draw runs many times a second. So why do you think the stroke is not working?
Because I have a stroke at setup, but it's reading the one in the draw paragraph. So I need to copy the first stroke, my red stroke command, and put it above triangle, right?
Right. Because likely, if we could see at like the millisecond of frame rate kind of thing, like if we saw things at like, I don't know, 1,000 frames per second or whatever, we probably would see that for a very tiny fraction of a second, it was the red color, but then it switches to green. But
Gotcha.
because it repeatedly is green, we never see the red. And
so now what I've done for the audio listeners is I've taken the stroke command of stroke 255, 55, 88, which is red, and I put that above triangle. Then after the line that reads triangle, and you really should be watching the video if you're listening to this one, folks, then comes another stroke command of 0, 255, 100. That's my green. Then the ellipse description. And I'm going to hit play and see how that turns out. And there we are. Yeah. Okay. Now, I did not know that setup only runs once, but that makes sense. Like, this setup is sort of like setting the table. Function is the actual eating of the dinner, right?
Mm-hmm. Ooh. Let's do something weird. Why not?
All right.
Let's see here. Gosh, is there any... I wonder if Google Hangouts would let me jump in, but if you don't mind, because I want to... you
want to show your screen?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I will.
Right.
I will catch up to where you're at, and then we'll continue from there, because I wanted to point out where we have essentially like these two chunks of code are called functions, and we literally see the word function before the word setup, and the parentheses tell us, okay, now here's where the function is. We could actually add what's called variables inside here, like something and something, whatever. But we don't need to do that right now. What a variable is, it just holds, it contains something, right? And it could contain a number, it could contain text, which in JavaScript and many programming languages they call text a string. Like think of a string of letters flowing along.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm going to make a variable here so we can watch the color change. That's where we're going. So let's say, let's call it.
Follow along with you.
All right, variable. You're following along? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's say variable RGB. Let's change the B. Blue number is it starts out at 0, and but then we do blue inside of draw blue number. Well, let's see. Blue number equals blue number plus 1, and there's a little simpler, fancier way to do this, but blue number plus 1. Kind of like when you're first learning English, you don't really dive into contractions.
Yeah.
Where it's like
Talk like a Dinobot.
Yeah. Okay.
Me make blue number 1.
Okay, I'm trying to remember. Right. Maybe not quite that, like not like not like primitive, just wrapping your head around it, but more like proper English versus fancy or whatever, or clever English, because you can actually do blue number. We'll do that one next. But anyway, so blue number equals blue number plus 1, and then instead of now we want to do, let's see, stroke. I want to use the colors you had. So you did
255, 55, 88.
55, and then I want to say blue number.
So I change 88 to blue number.
Mm-hmm. And then that'll be triangle, and then stroke 0, 255.
100.
100. Okay. And it's really cool, as you pointed out. It's like when this is not yet a full command or instruction, the editor is saying, "Hey, it's red," but now it goes gray again, so we know it's probably good. All right, what were you thinking, Jerzy?
You want to hit play and find out what happens?
Yes, actually.
Are we ready?
Hold on. Yes. Whoops. Doing all sorts of things here. So let's save that and hit play.
Nothing happened with mine. Whoa! It changed. It turned into magenta.
Uh-huh.
It turned like a purplish
So
magenta
it's
red.
slowly. Yeah, it's pretty slowly changing. Yeah, we might notice that a lot more aggressively if we do. What if we add another one? Like what if we add a red number?
Variable VAR red number.
Yep.
Equals
0. So yeah, and so now as you mentioned, so VAR means, hey, this is a variable. I'm making something to contain something, and then by using equals, as you're familiar with from math, where something equals something, and here's in this case we're assigning, right? By saying, you know what, the container is this term blue number, but then the value is 0 that we're assigning. So red number starting out just like that. So what if we do red number equals you know what's happened? I know what our error is with blue number, by the way. Red number equals red number. Let's do red number plus 1. Let's just be plus 1. So then there's a limit here. The value of a color is only supposed to stop at 255. And we're blowing by 255 pretty quickly. So we got to reset this thing. So what we need to do is if a conditional. So, and let's do the if statement. So if blue number is greater than 255, and we can use brackets here, and we can set blue number, because we're like, hey, wait a minute, you're past the line. You get back to 0. Blue number equals 0. And then we should do the same thing for red number.
And it did, so you had to place this command in brackets after the if statement. So the then statement is in brackets, but it did close brackets for you too. This editor does.
Yep, it has some, friendly autocomplete features because the editor knows JavaScript and it's trying to be friendly. So it's nice. Like if you could be typing this anywhere where you can type stuff, right? But if you're in a word processor, it's probably, it doesn't know you're trying to type JavaScript. So it's great to be somewhere that is giving you some helpful feedback, basically. And that's one thing that's so cool about the P5JS environment is that this is a lab. It's all self-contained. You just download the thing, and you can edit code. You can see the code results. You can share the results. You could upload it to the web, and it would work because it makes a little folder for you that has your HTML and everything else in it. But you don't have to care about that. All you care about is the sketch.js when you're in this world, and it's convenient. So, all right, to finish this thought on red number, what are you thinking so far, Jerzy?
This is feeling logical to me. There's obviously some vocabulary that I would have to memorize a little bit, like when I would use brackets, when I use parentheses. You ready to run it?
Oh, yeah, I was running it.
Yeah, let me run mine. See what I get.
Oh.
The transition is much slower now. Or no, I mean it's much. It's oscillating. Let me pull up mine. Mine's going back and forth. You watch it turn from red to magenta to red to magenta.
Oh, nice. Mine is too, but I can't see it as well on the gray. Yeah, I'm going to, because what we could do in addition to that, so we could do fill and do the same thing.
Oh, so why don't I just change the word stroke to fill?
Yeah, that's a good idea. That is quicker. Yep. Change stroke to fill. And then we're going to see the effect of our little experiment.
Let me play mine real quick and see what I get. Oh, yeah. And there we go. You can see the red triangle turn into a purple triangle, and then it resets to red. So now my guess is if I go to my ellipse color fill and change the blue number or the red number to red number, right? Oops.
Yep.
And then play it. Now we'll watch the green circle up, and there it is. It's turning yellow. Resets to green. Slowly changes to yellow. Now, what's controlling the timing on this? Oh, is mine not playing on the screen?
That is an awesome question. So yeah, what is controlling the timing is the frames per second that the browser is allowing the script to run.
Okay.
Which is it's oftentimes in the range of 60.
Okay.
And that's we could we could instrument that and find out. We could do. Oh, let's see. I think the term is called millis in P5JS.
Okay.
So all of this stuff it's built on like JavaScript has all this too. It's just that it's going to be a little more verbose to do it in JavaScript. P5 gives you a lot of shortcuts. So if we do, oh gosh, I wonder if we can console.log here. Console.log millis. Millis minus previous. So then if I say variable previous equals 0, and then we say previous equals millis, then what we're doing here, like I'm trying to essentially find out a definitive answer to the question you just asked, which is millis is the milliseconds for a quick way to get access to that in P5. So let's see what happens. And because I've literally, boom, we see this in my, are you looking at my screen right now?
Oh, yeah, down at the bottom.
So we see how many milliseconds have passed. So then it'd be a little more math to figure out. So if it looks like it's ranging for between 30 to 70 milliseconds or so. So 30, let's see, what's 1,000 divided by, so if we did console.log 1,000 divided by this, because there's 1,000 milliseconds per second, and I'm just going to group this, so like you can group numbers to make sure like the operations are happening in the groups that you want, right? So I want, millis minus previous, and then I want 1,000 divided by that. So then I'm going to...
Anybody who's used Excel sums and calculations knows what this is.
All right. So mine's ranging about... No, it's about... Well, it's never quite hitting 30. It ranges from like... Oh, let's say like 10-ish to 20-ish. So...
This is going to depend on browser to browser.
Totally. It depends on how many things my machine is running. Mm-hmm. It'll vary between like browser updates, right? Because all of a sudden, let's say Chrome gets an update, and they made something behind the scenes more efficient, and then surprise, now your code runs faster. So anyway, yeah, that's it too. And I need to go, honestly, I'm forgetting the whole, I've not looked into how P5 is getting its update. A lot of times when you write a game engine, you're doing the same kind of thing. It's called like a tick or a heartbeat. And that's the same, that's roughly the equivalent of what this draw thing is in P5.
Okay.
And so during that update, like you can do that in different ways. You can just make a timer and, power your heartbeat. I'm not, and I got to look into that, how P5 does it. Anyway, so yeah, Jerzy, where do you want to go from here? What are your questions and like we covered a lot of stuff, just kind of organically.
Well, okay, so like clarify something for me, and I'll pull up my screen so I can highlight what I'm talking about. Now, when we put on function draw blue number equals blue number plus 1, I understand the if-then statement. If blue number is more than 255, reset blue number to 0, right?
Yeah.
Is this statement here, blue number equals blue number plus 1, am I saying that from here on, anytime I use the phrase, and this is from my experience in playing with CSS, if I use the word blue number, take the value of blue number as stated. I'm confused on this. Like, what am I saying there? Because,
cool.
Because, like, when I go down to fill on line 22, it says fill 255, 55, blue number. So, what is that value if I've stated that blue number equals blue number plus 1?
So up above draw, you assigned a value to blue number. And now inside draw, so you're basically starting out somewhere because blue numbers is a number, and it starts at 0. But then once draw is called, once P5 says I'm time to do another update, I'm going to draw, and it happens as we saw like 10 to 20 times a second or more.
Yeah, I'll play it while we talk about it.
So blue number, for every one of the times it's running through these instructions, it hits that and says, okay, blue number is currently, let's say it's 5. Now blue number is going to be 5 plus 1. And I'm assigning it. So I keep updating that assignment over and over. And so that way we know it's going to be, it's getting closer and closer to its limit, which is 255.
I see. So I'm starting, once the animation begins, it's saying set the blue number to 0. has a value of 0. But then as we're cycling through the milliseconds, continuously add one number value to that RGB value until it gets to 255. At that point, reset to 0. Is that what that language means? Am I understanding it?
100%.
Awesome.
And you could do you could affect other things with the same kind of approach. You can essentially go to any of those positions of your shapes, right? So you're changing the values of the fill, but hey, there's more numbers here, right? There is the ellipse has an X position of 300 and a Y position of 100. You could be changing that too. It has a width of 80 and a height of 80. You could be changing those too. So all of a sudden, you're animating, and so you're animating color and you're animating shape and size and position.
Wow.
Right
okay.
there. And
this is not that. See, and I've actually way a long time ago, 15 years ago, I did a little bit of action scripting, and that's where I first got introduced to if this then that statements, and also upon this action trigger that action, right? You had on press or mouse over or mouse out events, right?
Which are exactly events, input event, right? And now you want to react to it. You want feedback and have some behavior happen.
If the user puts the mouse here, make this happen. And if if the user puts the cursor here, make this happen. If the user moves the cursor off of the button, and this is how anybody who remembers what the internet looked like in the year 1999, 2000, buttons were all very beveled and making them seem like you're pressing them down, right? You had a mouse over and then you had a mouse down, what would they call it, design to the buttons. But also even in animation loops, you would have an animation loop, when you get to frame 33, if if the animation hasn't fully loaded, go back to frame 1, and that would be the loading loop. If the animation is fully loaded, once you get to frame 33, now progress to frame 35, where the real animation begins. That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And having that familiarity with coding. Okay, wait a minute. Let's test our own claim.
Okay.
So has your experience in the past been helping you during this conversation?
A little bit, I think. I think it's given me at least enough familiarity to once I saw that if red number is greater than 255, red number equals 0, I understood that we were resetting the color. What I just got confused about was blue number equals blue number plus 1, but then you reminded me, and this is where I got lost, that above the function, right, and I'll go back to my page here, above the function we set variables. So that variable is setting an initial condition for the blue number, right? So it's possible. So wait a minute. So should I try to intuit how to change the shape of the ellipse?
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. And or if you have other curiosities, we could jump into a different example too. So
let me try to do an ellipse change real quick.
Yeah.
And then I want to jump to that browser example that you had. So okay. Let's. I wish I would have left it so that we could see Rob's expression while I'm working to see if Rob's gonna make a wincing face. No, not that. Okay. So var.
It's all Miyagi proud luck right now. You had me at var. All
right. Var. Ellipse width equals 80. Colon. Okay, so I'm setting my ellipse width at 80. Now I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to say, ellipse width, spell it right, Jerzy, width equals ellipse width plus, let's say 5. Right?
Cool.
Put a space, 5, colon. Right? Now I'm going to do an if this, then that. Right? So I go if parentheses, and it automatically completes the parentheses for me. Thank you. PS5, or
what is it, p5.js.
Mm-hmm.
So if ellipse width, and actually this isn't giving me any red bars in the sidebar, so I guess I'm doing this right so far. Ellipse width is greater than, let's say, 300. Then bracket ellipse width equals 80. That'll reset it to 80 wide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, just one thing to do, and that's to test this. And why is it not letting me play it?
You have to hit stop. It's playing somewhere in the background. So did you hit stop?
I did hit stop. Let me close.
Maybe you have to save it. It's
Maybe. Let's save. On the safe side. Oh, wait. No, those are...
Is it running somewhere?
Oh, I went through all this trouble, and I want to test it now.
Well, you saved it, so it's not lost. Yeah. What if you click on the P5JS icon? Well, it is a beta app, so it's might have an issue.
All right.
Huh.
Well,
There's another window. And
no, this is my only window, so I'm gonna go ahead and
Okay.
close it out after I saved
Smart.
it, since I saved it, and then maybe. Oh, I think it might have locked on me, Rob.
Okay.
I think it might have crashed. Wait, it's thinking. Get a little spinny ball. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and try to launch this again.
All right. Cool.
Before I run it,
Yeah.
am I onto something?
You need to see it. You're doing awesome, and I think that that your app will give you a little bit of feedback. So yeah, you want to go to P5, the P5 app, as you're hunting there.
I'm trying to open that sketch file right now.
Oh, I don't think it's going to open into P5JS. Like you want to go to the app first, and then open, and then go from there to open.
Okay. Let me go to my downloads
So yeah,
folder.
running. Yep, there you go. Running,
There's my
P5
app.
Yep.
Okay. It takes a second for it to load on my Surface for some reason.
Yeah, it takes a second on mine as well. Again, it's an app that's a work in progress. I don't know what if they're calling it beta or alpha, or something early on. Let's see. It's the editor is that's a beta version.
Okay. So now I'm going to go to File, Open, back to my sketch file, which I saved.
Yes.
Here we go. All right.
Awesome.
Moment of truth. I hit play.
And your excellent work from before is totally there and working. And what do you think is happening right now?
I don't know.
Because so far the ellipse is still same width and height, which makes it a circle. So, what do we think here? Because you're changing the number.
I'm changing the number.
Yep.
Is it because I called it ellipse width?
Nope. So this is the benefit of pair programming. So having another set of eyes, there was one more step, and I'm not a trap or anything. So like that ellipse width, you're changing it, but you're not using the variable yet. Right? So you're assigning it, right? So go down to the ellipse where you're actually drawing the ellipse. You got to use the variable in there.
You are right. Which one is width and which one is height? Does it matter?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the first one is width.
Oh, yes. I forgot. So I
No
defined
problem.
the ellipse width and height as 80/80 instead of using the variable.
Yep. Yep, one little step right there.
Let's see if it worked.
Look, that's awesome. That's funky.
All right, yeah, it's like the Lord Grade icon before the Muppet Show in the 70s.
Nice, man. That's a cool actual ellipse animation. It does look very eye-ish. Eyeballish.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but it's I intuited based on what we did before how to create a looping animation, right?
Yep.
Neat.
All right. So, would you want to open one more example? And
All right.
yeah, since I think your audio is all integrated on yours too, or is it?
Oh,
Maybe not.
I maybe. Oh, I would need to actually turn on the audio. I have to turn off my audio on this and turn on the audio on the Surface.
How about I'll do it then? I can do it then. I'll do it.
Okay. What are you gonna do?
I'm going to open. I'm going to open the example I did at the workshop last summer, which where I took a P5JS workshop. And I'm forgetting the gentleman's name who taught it, but we'll maybe put that in the show notes. It was super fun, and P5 isn't just like, oh, it's easy to do some JavaScript to make some interactions and stuff. There's a ton there, because you can actually go to p5js.org/reference, and you will see like all those words we were using. It's amazing the amount of stuff available to you, where you can do 3D things, you can do more types of shapes and curves and interactions. You can do camera stuff. You can do lighting stuff. You can do.
What was that URL again, so I can pull it up?
p5js.org/reference. Which there's a link right there. Yeah.
Well, Oh my gosh, yeah. So color, constants, DOM, data, image, IO, rendering, shape, typography, transform. I'm guessing that the funny thing that happens when you mouse over the P5 logo is all done with JavaScript.
Yes.
So that kind of thing that you're looking at now. Shape, vertex, lights, camera, color, constants, structure, environment, rendering, transform, events, rotation X, rotation Y, rotation Z, key is down, key is typed, key released, key pressed. This is all the stuff we're talking about that I learned about action scripting in Flash. Math, create vector. Oh, okay, so now we're getting audio from something, Rob. What am I listening to? Something's playing. Oh, I'm seeing characters that Rob created moving around on the screen. There's an astronaut, a crab, and a dragon. I'm hearing music.
Oh, I wonder if you hear me too.
Yeah, I can hear you. You're coming in on the mic on your Surface.
All right, I'm gonna switch back.
Okay. There was dancing creatures and music. So explain this to me, Rob.
Okay. That it is an example of just scratching the surface of doing much more with P5, right? So if we look at that example, would you mind opening up the example in the Lean Into Art folder of
Happy
P5
to.
examples called Dancing Characters?
Okay, so let me open that up real quick. File, open, and I need to go up one folder. Dancing Characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to just open the sketch.
Yep.
Right. Roger.
Sketch. Mm-hmm.
Sketch is opened.
Here you see a little more fanciness where, Jason Segal. I put it in the comments up above. There's so P5 can take input from your camera. It can take input from audio. It can analyze this input and do cool stuff. It can transform it. It can animate stuff based on it. So you can do like sound visualizations. You can do like crazy immersive things with with just, getting just a little bit conversant with JavaScript, and then all the sort of helpful capabilities that it's called an API, right? So the P5.js API, which is, jumping into coding, you'll end up coming across more acronyms and stuff than you may have preferred to come across, but you'll get used to them. Anyway, so you have this ability. So if you scroll up, there's I know I'm going to deal with the canvas, and I'm going to store a reference to it. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it, but I'm going to store a reference to the canvas, where before we just created a canvas, right? Then there's this crazy thing that I am not even an expert on in any way, shape, or form, but I've poked at it, and I get some of the things that it does. It's called a fast Fourier transform, where it's how I'm getting information to cause the characters to dance.
Okay.
So if we scroll down, and then it's also between that and peak detection. So if you go boop doop, there's a setup. Hey,
there's FFT, fast Fourier transform equals new P5.FT.
Yeah. And then there's the peak detections, which are all within a range. So if you probably have heard that, gosh, I'm going to be rough with this, and it's not going to be accurate, but I think human voice is somewhere around between 8 and 11,000 kilohertz or something like that, megahertz. Okay. I don't know, some kind of hertz. But anyway, so those are ranges of sound, right? That first peak detection is hey, stuff that happens in this sound range,
in 40 kilohertz,
count that as detected, only within that range. But then stuff that happens in this middle range, you count that as detected. In the next one, the peak second. Yeah. And then, it's the same thing with the third range. So it's roughly low, middle, and high range. And so in that little, music loop, there's sounds that are low, middle, and high. And so I'm using that for 3 different characters. One of them is detecting and going, doing the little, its little dance throb, punk, punk.
I'll pull it up again.
Yep.
I'll play it so we can see them.
Yeah. Then you have to click to play or pause it.
You can see that there's a rhythm going on here. They're responding to the music that we can't hear, because if I turn it on, we'll get a feedback loop with our mics. Yeah.
And then you'll see so that's that in the setup. That's giving getting things in order to be able to respond to that. And instead of having to do all that work every time it draws, it's more efficient because it only needs to get run once to be prepared, right? So the fast Fourier transformation is it basically turns the sound into a stream of numbers, right?
Wow.
And so, not doing it justice.
So in other words,
roughly that's what it's doing.
I could import, or I could have it reference any particular music track in my library,
or your voice.
I'm not talking about in my iTunes library. I mean anything I put in the folder, and the characters will behave according to that music differently.
Yes,
right? That's pretty neat. And this preloads that so that it only has to run that function once.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then so draw is then doing all the little animation things with the characters and respond and using that data. So it's saying, hey, fast forward your transformation, FFT, the variable that I stored that in.
Yep.
Hey, do your analyze job, and now feed these peak detection workers, right? Or it's not this peak detection. Peak detection 1 is an object. 2 and 3, right? And each of them were kind of configured to be to do a job to you detect this range and you detect that range. Anyway. So there you go. This is when it's doing that job, saying, hey, go ahead and update. And then you see hey, if it is detected, right? Did peak detect 1 detect something? There you go.
Width 1 equals maximum width 3, or else width 1 equals 0.95.
Yeah, so it's being reduced by almost 1% every frame.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And if width 1 is less than minimum width 1 equals minimum width 1.
Mm-hmm. So it's the same kind of thing we were doing with the colors, but just managing. It's just managing a range of numbers, and then using those numbers to change the size and shape of an image. Let's and that's roughly that's it. That's the magic of that example, and it's just because it's animated. It's hand drawn characters where I think it has a little bit of magic or charm to it. It's kind of a weird little group there, but you know. Then let's try one more of those examples.
Okay.
And yeah, so if you go into File, and then go to Examples. Oops, this is cool. I want to show you how they're built in.
Oh, the dancing characters example.
No, I hit Cancel. So go back to your File menu, and this is pointing out one of their built-in examples. Check that business out. It's all built in. Such a playground.
Load and display image.
So yeah, well, okay. So there you go. You're just so go ahead and check it out. Hit play on this one.
All right.
And there, boom. That's it. Astronauts. So what I wanted you to pull up though is pull up the example for it's the microphone one. Down image math. So you go to File, Example, Sound, and then
Mic threshold?
Is it mic? It might be mic threshold. Yeah.
Are you testing it right now?
Or it's amplitude analysis.
All right, amplitude analysis. Okay.
I think that's what it is.
All right.
Hit play.
Play.
Let's see what happens.
It's not getting any. Oh, what's going on here?
Yeah. Talk to it.
What is that doing? I'm talking, and I'm talking, and I'm talking, and I'm talking.
Yeah, there you go. So this circle is going woo 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 woo, like, and big small, big small. Go ahead and hit stop.
So this could, it's almost like it's like a little O-shaped mouth that's responding. I'm gonna get in tight on it and see what happens. Hey, how you doing? Okay. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and close this out, and then we'll just take a quick look down this example. And so what it's using, it's using an analyzer, right? Oh no, it's funny. This one is actually using it's using a song.
Yep.
So, okay.
Load sound.
There is a mic example.
An MP3. Want me to load up another example?
No, it's fine. This is good. But you can use. Let's see. We could change that example so it uses your. Yeah, actually, let's go. Go back to that example, and I'm trying to. Let's see, mic level. I've got a couple notes here. So, do we have a set? It sets the input, right? So it's going analyzer. And then analyzer.set input. And so what we want to do is we need a line where I think it's going to be basically 3 lines here.
Okay.
So make a variable called mic or
underneath
MIC.
Analyzer set input.
Up above setup.
Oh.
Do like var mic.
Var mic.
Yep. And then do like and then just give it a semicolon. So it's just a placeholder. And then inside setup, do mic equals new p5 dot audio in.
Okay, so mic. Come on, computer. There we go. Mic equals new.
Yep. New space p5.
P5
dot audio. Capital A audio. Sorry.
Oh.
Audio, and then capital I for in, for IN, and then parentheses and semicolon. I want to get rid of that space after
parentheses.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So, cool. Now we need to add a new line and call it where we say mic.start. Yep. Open close parentheses.
Oh.
For after start, we're calling a function, mic.start, and then now go to where it says set input. Change from song to mic.
Mike. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I saw where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready?
Yeah. Who knows? Let's find out.
All right. Hitting play. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. See it now? Now it's actually responding to my voice.
Sweet.
Whether the weather be cold or whether the weather be hot, we'll be together whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. Yep.
So imagine, like what if you made
I was hearing you now.
a little shape that and you put that over the mouth of a character, and all of a sudden there you go. You've got this cool little doodad on your webpage, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Neat.
yeah.
And that's not pulling up any assets, right? There's no like art that I created for that. That's just doing all in the browser, just drawing with the browser.
Yeah.
That's crazy pants.
So I know we kind of scratched the surface on a ton of things. Are there any like other curiosities or concerns that you have? I'm wondering.
Well, we're coming up against the time limit too, so
True.
I don't know where else we can go with this. But gosh, I feel like we need to do a part 2 in the months to come, Rob, because okay. Perhaps this is a good place to transition over to closing thoughts on the thing. What do you say?
Cool. Yes. Perfect.
Okay. So, as we transition over, before we head there, we're gonna close out the episode. We're gonna close up our thoughts. But before we go any further than that, I do want to take this opportunity to thank everybody who listens to the show, downloads the show, and supports it by giving it a rating on iTunes. If you go to iTunes and give the show a star review, that helps more people find the show. You can write a review if you want to, but you don't have to. Just give us however many stars you think it deserves. If you're watching the video on YouTube and you think that this was actually fun, interesting, encouraging, or curiosity-inducing, giving the video a thumbs up helps more people find the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else we'd like to ask them to do?
While you're out there in internet land, when you're in iTunes or what have you, please do point your podcatcher to comicsaregreat.com /GOSA.
Yeah, I forgot about this. Thank you for reminding
GOSA,
me.
the galaxy of super adventure. which is a new podcast by Jerzy Drozd, Ben Hatke, and Zach Giolongo.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. So
Thanks.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So, okay, why is it awesome, Rob? It's okay. So you let's see, it's so fun that it's hard to describe. Where okay, it's almost like if there were a public television puppet-filled show of talking about comics and visual storytelling and the kind of experiences that artists go through, and ranging from let's see, approaching writing characters, thinking about how role-playing can help with that, thinking about how let's see, oh gosh, there's like dealing with licensed properties and so like whether you're an illustrator or any kind of like comic artist, storyteller, animator, or you make stuff and just like to hear fun, awesome people talk about making stuff and thinking about it, and have these wild characters that also inhabit the podcast with them, because the whole podcast in concept takes place on a spaceship.
Yeah.
So there you go.
The premise is that Ben and Zach and I have leased a spaceship in order to be able to have discussions about visual storytelling, and specifically related to comics, because the three of us are comic book artists. And we never know. Well, our tweets and our mail are delivered by this creature called Rankin the Space Elf, who shows up at the end of a lot of the episodes. And then, but we also are visited upon by other characters, like this pony with whom I went to college, I think, named Mudpatch. who is a devilish character who tries to convince me to not do my work, but to go out with him and play skee ball. And then there's a kindly old cleaning lady named Miss Hasselgassel who just can't seem to get past the notion that these are called graphic novels, therefore they must be full of graphic imagery, which is unsuitable for young readers.
And what's it's such a cool mix of like the sincere exploration and the characters, and it has a life of there's this radio play drama fun comedy aspect to it, right? And mixed in with artists thinking about making things.
Yeah. It's sometimes I wonder if it's just the comics discussions are just our excuse to have an audio puppet show. You know, it's like the Great Space Coaster mixed with leaning to art, right?
That's awesome. So, highly recommend checking that out.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for reminding me, and also
it's
yes,
nothing, but it's because it's awesome. Go for it.
Well, we'll have to invite Rob onto the ship because I am dying to see Rob navigate a conversation with a character like Mudpatch.
Okay.
Talk about comfort zones.
Interesting experiences can be had.
All right, so transitioning over to closing thoughts on this thing. So, like, the big question is, like, what is this? How does this change? Having done these things and made stuff move on the screen, how does this change the way I think what my websites could do, right? Because something I get increasingly frustrated by sometimes is when you run a WordPress site, there's a lot of software to maintain, all these plugins that I might use to make different things happen. Plugins might no longer be supported. They might break. So I ran into this in updating the Kids Read Comics site to the new A2CAF site, right? A2CAF.com, which I ran. I said, like, I convinced the team, like, we really need to put it on Tumblr for right now because I just don't have the bandwidth to be maintaining a full site like that. And yes, we will lose some functionality for now, but what we gain is, you know, low overhead. But what I'm thinking about now is how could I use JavaScript to run an interactive site that runs leaner, right? Pardon the expression, than something like a bulky WordPress site, which has to have like an SQL database and it has to have like all the software that needs to be updated and maintained and protected all the time, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would depend on what you're trying to accomplish with it. I mean, I think you could imagine quite the sort of signpost, maybe a la like some of the good Flash sites back in the day. Not every Flash site had a needless intro, but some were genuinely intriguing, curiosity-invoking, fun experiences, right? That, you know, a la homestarrunner.com or for example, the hello.p5js.org, right? And if that suits your needs, you know, okay, you're looking down an interesting set of tools that could help you do that. If you're looking at like, hey, if we got a big team that's got to edit articles and stuff, maybe not so much, right? But so it depends.
It totally depends. So I'm thinking of something like, okay, so here's a perfect example. And Ryan Estrada, we haven't said the Obi-Wan Kenobi ghost name on the show in some time, of RyanEstrada.com, right? So here's his website where, hi, I'm Ryan Estrada, artist adventurer. And there he is, a drawing of him standing next to his books, his adventures, and his educational comics, right? You could easily do some really interesting animation stuff here, right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah, which could be a great investment, but like one of those, like when you create a given piece of art, not all of that is necessarily, you know, a great device to continue updating and evolving. Sometimes it becomes its own sort of set of assumptions and concerns, and it does a certain job well, but it can be difficult to make it do other jobs, right?
Yeah.
So it depends on where your needs lie. Where this might be able to help with that. But Tumblr is a pretty great choice as far as a lot of flexibility to just sort of reach out to the world and keep doing that.
Right. The Tumblr choice is based on what do we really need this thing for? We need it for like updates about the event. Need a couple static pages for directions, guest list, programming. That's what the A2CAF site needed to do. Tumblr was fine for that, right? But when you start talking about, okay, well, but if I'm designing a portfolio website, if I'm designing a website that represents everything I do, right? Here's the jerseydroz.com or jdroz.com site, which is currently on a blogspot type deal. But like, if I were to upgrade that to say, like, okay, I'm going to encapsulate all the different things I do in one place. Right.
Totally. Another a good use for it I've seen is sometimes events will have data that is generated from the event, like who's here and where are they from and that kind of stuff. And
IO did this, didn't they?
Yeah, IO did that, where you could create a visualization from that data with P5.js, and
Neat.
It could be interactive, and there are good examples of that. You could have just an interesting animation and your message to say, yes, go to this event. It's an invitation or a billboard, right? There's so anyway, I don't know if that would help your general publishing need. I wouldn't use it for that.
Right. Clearly, I need to put some more thought into this too, and so, but I feel like that experiment made it accessible to me, and it's the kind of thing where it would probably, my next step would be like spending a little bit of time doing some repetitive tasks with it in order to internalize the syntax, right?
Exactly. And like anything, it's if when you have an itch to scratch, when you've got a project that feels like, hey, I want to try this and explore it, whether it's just to play with it, that's a project right there.
Yeah.
Playing is awesome. And then having like, wait a minute, I would like to not even update my whole portfolio. It doesn't have to be that. Maybe I want to make an interesting side column or banner that is just a cool kaleidoscope thing made of stuff that I made and whatever, right? You could totally do that kind of thing with P5. And
well, even something like a silly little web browser game where it's like on boulderandfleet.com, it's like, help Boulder jump over the logs. It's like, it's just that part of the Activision Pitfall game where the logs are rolling at you. Make him jump over the logs. It's a dumb little thing, but it's a thing to interact with on the page, right?
That's a pretty great idea, honestly. Yeah.
Make Fleet eat all the pies, and then like it's like the old Atari Taz game where you're just going up and down through the different fields with pies coming through. Don't eat the bombs, eat the pies, that kind of thing.
Oh, it's funny. That sounds just like Tapper.
It was, basically.
Taz
was just like a cheap knockoff of Tapper. There was other games like that. I forget some of the. Was it Panic? Was that another one? One of those like indie developer games that for the Atari 2600 where it was just like 5 fields and then you're just a character who can move up and down and there are safe things you can touch and not safe things you can touch, right?
There you go.
Progression to the next level just meant things went a little faster. And I can see some there's your variable set there, right? Like you're setting the variables so like if this much time has passed or if this many points have been completed, now make it faster.
And like what you're describing is, that's where you're getting into the interactive world, and you are, you're designing and creating the concept for stuff that you could totally act on with P5, or just JavaScript or both.
Well, cool. So I'm going to pull that site up one more time so people can see it because it's p5js.org. So people can go there. It will be linked in the show notes.
One other link that I'm really feeling like we should have mentioned earlier, but I kind of skipped past that opportunity, was I made a little code pen thing that you can play with this without downloading a darn thing. So if you go to codepen.io/Rob Stenzinger, I think it'll show this. Like it's in my public pens. And so, yeah, the little... There's these four boxes, right? 3 of them are code. One of them is the view of like the result of the code. So you can go in and tweak stuff and play without installing anything. So we'll be sure to have that in the show notes as well.
Yep. And there I just like modified this triangle. Let's add an ellipse. Same kind of idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right on. So there's Jerzy's changing the size of triangles and playing with the ellipse. So you get to poke around. And you can download this too. You can they call it in coding terminology, or the practice of keeping track of versions of code and then making your own version. There's a word called fork. So you can, almost like a fork in the road, where now you could take that fork in the road with this code. There's a button right there on that code pen, and then make your own thing. And by all means, if you do that, if you react to this, please do ping us on Twitter and share your thoughts and your things you make. Would love to retweet and share those with the world.
Yep. Awesome. Well, Rob, thank you for making this a little bit more accessible.
No problem. It's totally cool if it's not much more accessible, but I hope if it just got a tiny bit, that's fine. It's a different language, A
little bit more accessible.
You took a JavaScript vacation. You didn't totally know how to do much more than order a beer and go to the bathroom, but that's okay.
Wo ist die Toilette? I know how to do that. All right. This show will be archived at leanintoart.com. You're going to hear that in the outro music in just a few seconds. But again, thank you to Rob for this awesome demo and for teaching me. And we will do a part 2 where we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this in the months to come. Until then, I have been Jerzy Drozd of leanintoart.com and Jerzy on Twitter.
And I've been Rob Stenzinger of leanintoart.com and Rob Stenzinger on Twitter.
Okay, bye.
Show notes for this episode can be found at leanintoart.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at the user leanintoart, and you can reach us via email at leanintoart@gmail.com. And remember, leaners aren't wieners. Thanks for listening.
Okay, I'm going to kill the stream. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Good night.